First off, let me start by telling you guys a little bit about what Kailash Blades does with their treatment of their knives and the quenching that is particularly special, and it has to do with just chemistry and science. Each metal, whenever you want it to get hard after it's been heated and shaped, requires a special process in quenching and tempering to get the molecules inside of the metal to sync up and bond tightly and strongly with each other. And the process you go through, like the temperature you heat it to, which translates into how fast the molecules are moving around inside of their solid, to the way you take the heat or the energy out through water or oil or air, whatever it is, affects the hardness and durability of the metal. It affects how those molecules bond. With 5160, which is the common metal used for Kukri blades in Nepal, it's spring leaf metal. The more traditional way to quench and temper that metal is to use water to take the heat out of it. What that does, however, is unless it is heated just right and then quenched just right, I mean, like so carefully and specifically, what that often leads to is the molecules jumping around like this. Oh, I'm getting all fancy-pantsy. The metal gets shaped and then it's quenched with water and they just stop. They sync up in a way that's not strong. They get stuck wherever they happen to be. It doesn't allow them to settle comfortably. Whereas with oil, when it's quenched in oil, the speed that oil takes energy out of the metal is slower. So they're dancing around, and then the music starts to slow, and then as it comes to an end, they're hugging and cuddling just right, leaving no room for Jesus. And that leads to a stronger bond between the molecules in the metal, which means capable of holding up to more stress. And I think that's a big deal, because one of the things that I have found is either I have a thin, nimble, comfortable blade to use that breaks, which I have had 3 do now, or it doesn't break, but it weighs 2 pounds, which is like 2 to 4 steaks, right? And is 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick at the spine. And a 2-pound knife is not a knife. It's just a bludgeoning object with a sharp edge. And so either way, that leaves me with this design and utilitarian tool that I am enamored with and love to death that I can't use, right? Kailash did not do that. Kailash uses oil. They have a design that is so comfortable. The handle is so comfortable. The shape of the blade is so balanced and useful. I've been blown away with how this blade has performed and treated me so far. This particular knife is the Falo model. It's unfinished. Its intent and general design is to be a durable, utilitarian, no-nonsense blade that the blacksmiths themselves typically make for themselves to use. One of the values of leaving the blade unfinished is that A, it's less prone to rust, and B, because you're not grinding and polishing away any of the metal, there's no excess or extra heat transfer into it, which thus leaves less chance of the temper being affected or changed in any way, leaving you with the original temper of the knife. They'll give it to you in a wood or horn handle that's not overly shaped. Excuse me. Super basic. And that's kind of what I loved about it. I got myself the Western leather sheath with a dangler. This sheath is, I'm going to tell you right now, super high quality. The stitching on here has only got the 1 line of stitching, but what I'm noticing about the cordage they used for the stitching is it seems to be this braided, not braided, it's got intertwined cables underneath a sheath inside. Like this is a little cable, like a polymer cable, and it looks super durable. And granted, I haven't had it forever, so like in a couple of years, I'll check in with you to be like, did this thing fail or not? But I suspect it's really not. The dangler was a little small to fit my belt. It fit, and it actually kind of worked out because it grabbed the belt just right to where it never moved or shifted or anywhere. And the dangler kept the handle, both of these snaps, in the perfect place for my hand to grab. Like it was my arm is swinging, and oh, it's at my knife. Oh, it's at my knife. It just landed there every time, which I loved. But the way the dangler worked out is that it was hard to draw the knife and put it away consistently until I used the D-ring at the bottom to lash it to my thigh. Then it got a whole lot easier. I think some of that difficulty could be adjusted if I went to this loop down here, but maybe not, which kind of led me to the conclusion I came to about this particular sheath style. If I were to do all this again, I would just go with the traditional Nepalese kukri sheath. And it's not because this was poorly made, and it's not because the design and intended functionality of this sheath did not come through. I think it absolutely did. What I think did not come through was my preference. My personal preference, I think, is for the traditional kukri sheath that's on the opposite side of the body for a cross draw. That's just what's comfortable and I prefer. So if I were to do it again, and if I were to order from them again, which I think is likely, that's how I'm going to do it. But again, it's one of those, it has absolutely nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with this. So what makes this a custom? What makes this the FTLF custom? The For This Land Falo custom. Yeah, I said it. The FTLF. Did you hear that, Kailash? Did you hear it? Did you hear what I said? The For This Land Falo, the custom For This Land Falo, the FTLF, is it comes down to the handle, right? So I chose it specifically. I chose the Falo specifically because there is no cho there, which the two or three that I had break on me all snapped clean off at the cho. The tang is thicker. So normally, you have the tang, it's about yay thick all the way through. This one's about this, giving you that extra metal. It takes up a lot of the handle space. And this is not wood or bone. This is a micarta wrap around the tang that they shaped into a traditional handle. And the reason I went with that is, first off, they recommended. They're like, hey, did you know we could do this? And I was like, because I was trying to figure out what's going to give me the most marriage between durability and general functionality. It was the Falo model with this. It's this micarta wrap with a thickened tang is essentially the closest to a full tang handle that they're able to make without it being a full tang handle. It's thicker, more durable handle material, therefore, the closest it can be. Now, why is that important to me? Well, over the kukris I've owned, I've always just been bothered by the feel of the full tang handle. It wasn't super comfortable. I had that, peace of mind that it was more durable, except not really because they kept breaking. But, we all know that full tank gives you a more robust design. And I'm here like, well, I don't like that. So what can be done? This is it. This is, knowing that some sacrifices were made, this is as close to full tang durability that can be had without being a full tang knife. Thank you, Kailash blades. So keep in mind, this is one of the only micartas that they've done. They're kind of building their skill on that one. If you order one, I don't know what it'll turn out. But if you were to ask me, I'd say order with confidence because this is solid. This is a solid thing. I love it. Now, I need to talk a little bit about the experience I had ordering from them and how it went down and what it tells me about Kailash Blades as a company and organization. The first 4 months ago, I ordered a knife, and they said in about 3 weeks you'll have one. That was 4 months ago. It started off because there was a sort of a lost in translation kind of a moment. Like we misunderstood each other on what it was that I wanted. And so they started making a different knife than what I had ordered. And I knew that that happened because they were sending me pictures. Now, first off, when you custom design a knife and you're like, I'd like to see it. And they're like, here, let me document the birthing of your baby. Like, that's actually really cool. I liked that a lot. They sent me pictures of what they made. And I was like, that's not what I ordered. And they're like, wait, what? So we talked about it and like, damn, we'll start over. Extra few weeks. That moved into the time where they were packing up their old workshop and moving into a new one, so it added extra time. Took a long time. Then they sent me pictures of the knife. Sweet, this is awesome. And they sent me more pictures of it being broken because they were stress testing the knife, taking a sledgehammer and pounding it sideways against the blade, putting on massive stress, and the handle snapped off. And I'm like, that's exactly how the last one broke. But you know what? After I thought about it, they didn't want to send me a weak product because they knew I had an issue with Kukri's breaking. So they wanted to make sure it wouldn't. They were stress testing so they could stand by their product and stand by me. And again, it's one of those, I appreciate that. And they were apologetic. They were grateful for my business. It was one of those things where like genuine, honest accidents were taking place, and it kept delaying my blade over and over and over again. And I was starting to get really frustrated because I'm like, I just spent $180, which, side note, by the way, for a custom-made, handmade knife with this kind of quality stuff for $180, you can't beat that kind of a deal. Like, the value of something like this is extremely high. And if you don't go with any customization, their base models for, again, a quality product is still going to land you anywhere from like 60, and that included shipping, 180 including shipping halfway around the world. You're going to land in the like $70 to $200 range depending on what you ask for or buy. And it's one of those that's extremely high value. Extremely high value. And I can't recommend that enough. So I spent what in my view was a ton of money, and part of it was I just was anticipating it so much because I was ready to give up on Kukri's, handmade Kukri's forever. Because I just was like, I can't trust this process anymore. It's letting me down. What can you do for me here, Kailash? What's going on? And they're like, look, here's the deal. We're sorry. We're trying to get it to you. And to like make it up to me, they're like, we'll send you this. No charge. Extra little deal. Do a review on it. It'll be great. And a review to come. And again, it was one of those, they're trying to stand by what was right for their customer and themselves. And I value that highly, and well done, Kailash. And then it finally got here, and bam, I love it. I mean, I just love it. This knife is different than any Kukri I've ever held or ever owned, and it's above and beyond what those other Kukris were so far. This is a great blade. And as frustrating as it was for me, I'm sure it was frustrating for them. In order to get me one knife, they made 4. And that had to suck, to just be like, damn it, again, this guy. Like, I was that guy. I was that guy to these guys. And they stuck with it. They delivered a quality product, and I'm super pleased with Kailash blades. And so far, from my part, I can't recommend them enough. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that was beautiful for you, as it was for me. Remember, like, subscribe, share, enter the comments. What is it you look for in a Kukri or a custom knife? I mean, does this seem reasonable to you? And remember, the goal of this channel is to try and ultimately help people connect with the great outdoors a little bit better. And my quest for the perfect Kukri has always been a part of a bushcrafting, wilderness connected motivation, though it's often pretty materialistic, much to my own chagrin. Welcome. Hello, devils. How are you doing? That's the idea. And so if that's a mission you also believe in, please become a patron. Check out the Patreon and help support the energies and efforts of this channel. Help support those guys over at Kailash Blades. And Godspeed. Don't get eaten by a bear. We love you. And remember, whatever you do for this land, you do for everybody. Thanks.